When did you learn about struggle?
Do you know, only my mum did an incredible job at making life feel normal. So I didn't feel like I struggled in my early years. Only when you get older and you reflect and you look back at certain circumstances and environments that you grew up in, you're like, oh, that's a struggle. One of the things that came to mind recently was when I remember it was the Euros, maybe Euro 96. And I remember living in almost a box room with my mum. And like, you think about that and it's like, that was a struggle, you know? Now it's a complete different world. She's living a great high life. I'm living a great high life. Everyone's doing well. But when you look back and reflect, you're like, oh, things must have been hard. So only now when I'm older, I look back and reflect and I'm like, oh, the struggle was struggling. But now, you know, it's just different. We're living in different worlds. But it's now I'm more reflective of my previous years of growing up. And I think that's when I realized, yeah, it was a struggle for real. But I doff my cap to my mum because he would have never felt that way. Still did things, still had things, still experienced great things and different times, of course. But it was a very different time and very different experience for sure.
Looking back, when did you realise that you were homeless during your childhood?
Yeah, coming home from school and mum's packing stuff, you know, and you're like, I just went to school. What's happening here? And then, you know, you might go to someone's house for a couple of weeks or whatever it might be, and you're not really asking questions. You're just trying to get to school. Like, what's my new route to school? And then when you look back now and you reflect, you're like, oh yeah, we were homeless for real. Like, we had nowhere to be, nowhere to stay. You know, and you even experiences where you go to like emergency accommodation, you go and spend it for a couple of nights there. And like, it's interesting because I'm the person now trying to invest in various projects that involve emergency accommodation, emergency housing and all these. And it's like, oh, that's what I had at one point, you know? So it's now when I reflect and I look back and I'm like, life is very different. But also that's when you realize, oh yeah, you were homeless and oh yeah, that was a struggle for real. So yeah, that's been some interesting experiences over the duration of my life, for sure.
How has struggle transformed your thinking?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you reflect and you think to yourself, I don't want the generations that come after me to experience whilst it shaped me to the person that I am today, but I think they should have a soft life. And I think it not only shapes your thinking, but it gives you some resilience. Because my level of resilience and my ability to manage stress and tough situations and environments in a cool, calm and chilled manner whilst being able to find solutions, I'm sure has contributing factors from those times of struggle. So I think it has definitely played a part in my growth and who I am today, because when things come to my door, it's typically when it's not being able to be resolved by anybody else and they come to me for a solution. So the way that I think is very different to others as well. So absolutely, it must have played a massive part in my journey.
Do you want your son to know about struggle?
I don't want you to struggle, son. No, I'm joking. Listen, you better... No, a bit of both. On a serious note, I think you don't have to punish them in order for them to understand about values and ethics and understand currency and time and be respectful. So I don't necessarily want him to struggle, but he's not going to get everything given to him on a silver platter, as they say. He's going to work for that ish. You better get to work, my bleep.
What's your problem today? All right. And did you know you were poor? And what is poor for you? What does poor mean?
What does poor mean now or then?
Back then, what does poor? I don't know.
You didn't know. When you grow up in an environment, you don't know what it is that you are until you step out of that environment. Because
did you see other people in your environment that had riches or wealth or nice things?
No, and only now when you look back and you have things and you're like, oh yeah, but then it's still levels. I'm sure people that are way more wealthier than you and I looking like, oh,
they're poor.
Oh, they're poor. What? They cooked? What? They drove their own car? What? It's just levels,
enough.
isn't it?
Fair enough.
They've never lived a life of something else, and they just don't know.
But you know, when we were younger, I guess there was TV, there was music videos that showed a different life. Did that paint a picture for you that actually there was more?
No, because it's still those are still very elite people, and you know, not everyone's going to buy a £200 million condo that they go and visit in the summer in wherever. It's still,
you know, MTV Cribs and stuff though. Did that ever change?
Yeah, but now it's just Instagram cribs.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny, isn't it?
It's the same.
Yeah.
But more people there are more people, way more millionaires now than there were before.